Last minute, I want to give both of you a chance to talk about changing trends in higher education. We talked about first time 18 to 22, but now with the disruptions in the economy, we have a lot of people that are in their 50s and 60s and coming to your institutions now. So in the last minute, what are the things that you'd like our viewers to know? There's sort of changing trends to look for in the next year or two.
Well, I think we've talked about it. I think the use of technology has been very helpful to people like you're talking about who are 50 to whatever age. 18-year-olds really aren't ready to be left on their own a lot, to self-actuate, to do all those things that you need in a distance education environment. You have to do the work on your own. You don't have somebody in class looking you in the eye, pointing to you and saying, do you know this or not? You have to know that internally. And that with the demographic change, you can make changes in the kind of pedagogy you have. So I think that's one thing that's been, we're much more accessible these days in that way.
I think the most worrisome trend for me that I see is very broad kind of assumption that we can achieve the goals like the ones the president has put out and spend less.
Right.
I think we have to be honest with folks. You can do some things with efficiencies. You can do some things with productivity that should be done and are being done. But to achieve the kind of goals he put out there, and the goals that I think we need to achieve as a country and as states around the country, it's going to take increased public funding, or just admit that we're not going to achieve those goals. And I don't think people are ready to give up on those goals. So I hope we have a more sophisticated conversation going forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what we tend to see on many of our campuses, Jerry, of course, we see increasing size for administration and management. We find increasing bricks and mortar, and then we find decreasing programs and courses, and that seems to be at odds with one another. Moreover, in a day and age where it's more important than ever to communicate with people, we still are struggling to have Arabic and have Mandarin Chinese offered on our campuses. Why isn't it there? But Steve and I have talked about this before. We'll be back with the second segment of Behind the Headlines right after this.
Behind the Headlines is brought to you as a public service by the Pennsylvania Business Council, envisioning a commonwealth in which residents enjoy a very high quality of life in sustainable communities. The Council works aggressively to define key long-term policy strategies and solutions that make the Commonwealth more competitive, creating and sustaining a better Pennsylvania. Additional underwriting provided by the Worrell Corporation Foundation, based in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And the American Home Bank, a nationally chartered and FDIC-insured, yet locally owned and operated bank in central Pennsylvania. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business. Behind the Headlines is also supported as a public service by Daily Express, transporting construction, farm, and industrial equipment throughout the United States.
Hi, welcome back to the second segment of Behind the Headlines. On this segment, Jerry and I are going to be joined by Scott Wagner. Scott, welcome. Scott is the president of Penn Waste Company out of York, Pennsylvania. You were on the show not long ago, and we were talking about some business issues. And now that we're in the midst of a election season, we wanted to ask you, as one of the best representatives of Pennsylvania business, what is the business climate like in Pennsylvania right now, Scott, and what needs to be done to improve it? I know that's a big question, but we're testing you to see if you could condense your answer. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great question, and I'll just tell you how we can gauge the economy in our service area. We service homes in South Central Pennsylvania in 62 municipalities. We have 62 contracts, and we service about 150,000 homes. Of the 62 municipalities that we service, 27 of those municipalities require that we perform the billing directly to the homeowner. So we are billing about 57,000 homes directly. We have 8 people in our collections department. We are seeing for the number of foreclosures that we are seeing in Dauphin, Cumberland, and York County are staggering. And So that's to us is sort of the tip of the iceberg. And when the consumer is tapped, and then you also read statistics that the consumer, a lot of consumers are paying down bank debt, they're paying down credit card debt, which means they're reducing debt, which is very, very smart, but they're not spending money. And we're seeing in our business, we are seeing trends where people are spending less. We have last year our company lost 106 customers. 42 of those customers were businesses that just completely closed. We are on a run rate for 2010 to exceed, we will probably be about 125 customers that we will lose, and it's probably going to be closer to 70 businesses that are going to outright close. Down in York, we've had, just in the last couple weeks, BAE has announced that they are laying off workers, and the layoff of those workers and slowdown of military work is actually trickling out to a lot of small businesses in York. I have a friend who has a small business that does work with BAE, and he has, due to business slowdown, he's had to reduce his workforce by 33. And I think, and then, we hear about, servicemen and women coming back home from Iraq. Where are they going to go to work? So we're seeing, I'm not real optimistic right now on what I see. And, probably, for anybody to predict beyond 2011, there's just no way you can do it. But I think, what we need to do in Pennsylvania is that I am personally looking forward, to a new governor, and candidly, I would very much like to see Tom Corbett be our governor. He has made some statements that he is going to, start his administration with no tax increases, and I really see the state of Pennsylvania as it's the state of Pennsylvania Inc. We're bankrupt. I believe we're bankrupt, and that's my opinion. Others may differ on that.
As is the nation, Jerry.
Yeah, I mean we're on the Titanic, folks. I mean it's Democrats and Republicans and Tea Party members. We're all on board, and it's going down. If you watch the Titanic movie, it's going down, and bubbles are coming up. Yeah. And I think we have lost. Especially in York County, we've lost a lot of industry over the years. And Pennsylvania, if you really look at Pennsylvania, it's an old industrial state. But you can go to other states. I was recently in Columbus, Ohio, and Columbus is a vibrant city. 711,000 people, and a larger metro area of 1.7 million people. I was in Fort Wayne, Indiana, about 8 weeks ago. Again, you understand it's auto related, and there is high unemployment, but there seems to be a fair amount of new business. The biotech area has moved into Fort Wayne. But when you come back to Pennsylvania, if you look at a business that is thinking about relocating to Pennsylvania, they're going to look at the tax structure. They're going to look at capital stock tax. They're going to look at corporate net income tax. Issues that I've had in my business. I've been in the waste business for 25 years. And in my 25 years in the waste business, we have had 5 workers' comp fraud cases that have probably cost our companies between $1 and $2 million. I mean, back where someone comes in on a Monday morning and says they're injured, it turns out they were playing baseball, and then 6 months later, we have again attempted to have the employee return to work, and we have videos of that employee outlifting a car engine out of a car with one of their buddies. So we've got to see workers' comp reform. We need to fast track claims. I mean, right now we have some claims that are unresolved for up to 2 and 3 years, and it's very expensive. And if you look at again, on a national level, I think the extension of the Bush tax cuts are important. I mean, there's a lot of debate today about the people that make $250,000 and less. But if you look around, there are business owners that are, for example, we're a sub-S corporation. And so, for example, if you're a sub-S corporation and you make $500,000, that doesn't mean that you took the $500,000 out of your business. That means that you are taxed on the $500,000, and you pay taxes, state, federal, local taxes, and you're left over with a certain amount of money. And that certain amount of money that's left over, most businesses will continue to reinvest in their business by new equipment and machinery, technology. And so we have to, this thing about rich, I would consider, Bill Gates a rich person. But if you also look at what Bill Gates has done, I mean, Bill Gates and I are similar age, but he's been very fortunate and grew just a tremendous company into Microsoft with other partners. But if you really look at Bill Gates is now committed to giving away virtually all of his wealth to helping people in the world. And I can tell you as a business owner in York, and I have tens of friends, if not hundreds of friends, who are business owners. They support United Way, the food banks, the Salvation Army. And I think this, it's almost insulting that we're being labeled as rich.
But they will definitely be hit with the $250,000 level just because their company makes more. And when they take the expenses off,
Correct.
and part of most people, if you have a business, part of that expense would be retooling, going through and depreciation reserves that you would have. That's where you're really being penalized, and people don't get to see that.
Correct. I mean, there was in the last two years, there was the bonus tax depreciation, which I believe is still available. It was available last year. It's not available this year. But I remember in 1985, when I started my first company, there was a 10% investment tax credit, which was really, it was 10% in addition to the 100% depreciation that you would take over a period of 3 to 5 years. So really, you ended up with 110%. There are ways to stimulate things, but if you look at, you just look at all the, the cost of doing business in Pennsylvania. We've got the PHRC, and we've got tort reform. I mean, we all in the state of Pennsylvania spend a lot of money on legal issues, and at Penn Waste, I'm going to stick my neck out here and tell you that today as I sit here, Penn Waste is currently using 11 different attorneys. 11 different attorneys. We use 3 attorneys for municipal issues, and we use an environmental attorney that helps us with permitting. We have a workers' comp attorney. We have a transportation attorney. We use an antitrust attorney from time to time for advice. But we have the list, and it's 11 attorneys, and we will spend easily in excess of $500,000 this year, on legal fees. Mm-hmm. And we're choking on regulation. And just an example, and we would.
This is what we hear from so many.
We would expect this. I mean, at Penn Waste, we have a diesel fuel tank, so we have to have an underground tank registration permit annually. We understand that, and then we have to have a stormwater permit because we have a property large parking lot. We understand that, and but we have to do stormwater testing. We just actually tested the stormwater on our property. The bill, I think, came across my desk a couple days ago. It was about $1,500. And you look at the fees that you pay for the tank registration. We have a leak detection system, and we have to run a report monthly.
And there are way too many regulations for all of business to abide by here in Pennsylvania. We need to revamp all of those. But we want to have you back. We're just getting started. We're just getting warmed up here. We want to thank all of you for being with us and joining us for this discussion on business in Pennsylvania. We want you to come back when Scott comes back next time to continue this discussion. We'll see you next week on Behind the Headlines.